and it's day 4 in my vlog every day for a week, and today we're going to delve back into my childhood with one of my favourite and probably the only proper show I actually remember watching as a really young child, Scooby Doo! First premiering on CBS on the 13th of September 1969, Scooby Doo was originally called Scooby Doo, Where Are You? And I'm sure I don't need to explain the plot, but in case you're dense. Gang arrives in area with Ghost. Ghost leaves clues. Gang follows clues. Gang then traps Ghost in a trap that they set up, but Scooby and Shaggy ultimately ruin the original trap but still manage to catch. Unmask it, turning out it was either the security guard, the butler, or some rich dude, and the villain would go, I would have gotten away with it, I'm sorry, let's get the accent, and I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids and your dumb dog. In 1972, we then had the Scooby-Doo movies, which were basically the same idea as prior, but they always had a special celebrity guest star. Now this was either a fictional guest star, like Batman and Robin or the Addams Family, or real people like Dick Van Dyke and the Harlem Globetrotters. The show was then bought by ABC and retitled The Scooby-Doo Show, and all of the original cast but Velma's voice actor, who had retired at the time, came back to do this. This series also saw the introduction of him, Scooby Doo. Not much to say on him, he was an idiot. I mean, you think Scooby-Doo was bad? This guy makes him look like Einstein. The show then became Scooby-Doo's All-Star Olympics, which was nothing like anything that Scooby-Doo had ever been in before. It was basically a show where Scooby-Doo was the leader of an Olympics team. It was composed of about 43, 45 different Hanna-Barbera characters who would participate in basically Olympic events. It was generally not well received, but what do you expect from a show that was just basically this guy is doing caber toss? No, that's the Highland Games, not caber toss. The hammer throw, or the shot put, or the javelin, or something, and then some zany event would happen where there was something go wrong, because I think one Scooby's team was good, and then there was like Dick Dastardly's team that was bad. In 1979, with viewing figures dropping dramatically, they decided to introduce him, Scrappy Doo. He was such a popular hit in the Scooby-Doo show that they decided to revamp the whole show, overhaul everything, throw out Velma, Daphne, and Fred, and replace it with just Scooby, Shaggy, and Scrappy in a series that was called The Scooby-Doo and Scrappy Show. The general idea of this series was that there were 3 episodes, each about 7 minutes long, but rather than being a guy in a mask, the villain would actually turn out to be real in the show sense anyway. It would be like an actual wizard or an actual ghost or something. None of it was ever properly explained. It was just, yeah, it's real, it's fine, it's cool. Scrappy wasn't scared of it, everyone else is scared of it. Daphne then returned to this, and it became 2 11-minute episodes, but still with the same premise, but Daphne was somehow involved. Why Fred and Velma weren't, I don't know. I didn't even think Daphne was the popular one. But who am I to say? I wasn't born in the 70s when this was made. 1985 saw The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Again, it starred Shaggy, Scooby, Scrappy, and Daphne, but also introduced Flim Flam, a Mexican con artist kid, and Vincent Price. No, well, I call him Vincent Price. His name was Vincent Van Gogh, but it was like they let Vincent Price, here's a character we want you to play. Be yourself. See what you come up with. That's a good boy. It was basically about this chest, and Scooby and Shaggy opened it and released 13 ghosts of the most evil and scary and blah blah blah. It wasn't a success. I quite enjoyed it, except for Flim Flam. They then decided to produce 3 films. Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers, Scooby-Doo at the Ghost School, and then Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, all of which only starred Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy, but all had real monsters, real ghosts, real ghouls, real werewolves. The Reluctant Werewolf is basically, there are monsters, you know what Wacky Races is? Imagine that, but with monsters. So there was a mummy car, a vampire car I think, Frankenstein car, a whole bunch of things, and Scooby Scooby and Shaggy had to win it for Shaggy not to become a werewolf. And there was a woman in it, but she was never spoken of again. The next technical movie was The Arabian Nights, which just had them as narrators to 2 other stories starring Yogi Bear, Boo Boo, and Marilla Gorilla, I think he was called. I've never heard of him, but he's this guy. Nothing really new came out after these movies until 1998, where we saw Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, which was actually a really, really good movie. And actually, it was, I think, the only PG-rated Scooby Doo thing ever. It was good. There was a twist at the end that I didn't see coming. Admittedly, I was probably like, how old was I when it came out? I was 5 when the movie came out. So yeah, I didn't expect the plot twist. This then led to like 4 other movies of a similar vein. There was Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost, which had Tim Curry in it, which is amazing. The Alien Invaders, which again followed the similar plot twist ideas of the previous one. I'm not going to reveal it in case you ever want to actually watch it, because they are good animated movies, even if they are aimed at kids. And then there was Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase. They got sucked into a video game. And then there was this weird bit about old versions of themselves, where they didn't look nothing like any old version I've ever seen. But apparently that's what they used to look like. Shaggy wore red in his old version, but he's never worn red ever, so... This led to a wave, and I mean, there was like 1 every year. I'm not going to bother naming them, they're just going to go over my face now. Scooby Doo saw such a success that they actually decided to make a live-action movie in 2002. It wasn't very good. It was a box office success, mainly because it was Scooby Doo, but the ratings were poor, and the only good thing about it was probably Rowan Atkinson was in it. And the Scooby Gang were good. I'm not going to give the actors who played each of them played them really well. Just the plot made no sense. Just take a look at this. This is going to explain the movie. This then led to a sequel, which was received worse by critics, but I actually enjoyed it more. It felt more in tone with what Scooby-Doo was about. It had the original villains. It had the Creeper, the Tar Monster, a zombie, skeleton people, all of which had appeared in the series. The general premise was that the costumes had come to life and were then trying to kill the Scooby Gang, which I think is actually quite interesting. Just the way it was done didn't come out well. This then led to 2 prequel movies. I hate it when they do this. They made them young. I mean, admittedly, I forgot to mention this earlier, but they did this before in a pup named Scooby Doo, where they tried to make a more Looney Tunes style. But these live-action movies, yeah, I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole. I hate it when they look at the child aspects of the characters, because then it completely, I don't know, just doesn't work for me. Admittedly, I was my age when they came out, but saying that, we always regularly get the animated Scooby-Doo movies when they come out. And I quite enjoyed all of them but one, the Goblin King one. I didn't like that. Following the success of the movies, they decided to make What's the Scooby-Doo? We're coming after you, which was the best series since the original. It was basically the original series, but with a more modern update. They used computers, phones, advanced gadgets, all sorts of things. They just took the original stories. Well, they didn't take the original stories, they took the idea of the original stories and put them in modern times, updated the characters and everything, and it was really, really good. Then came Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue. Going back to the vein of Scooby-Doo and the Scrappy Show, they threw out Velma, Fred, and Daphne, just keeping Scooby and Shaggy in a show that really didn't have anything to do with the unmasking of ghouls. They inherited a lot of money, there were robot inventions, his uncle, Shaggy's uncle, was in hiding. There was one main enemy that kept appearing, Dr. Phoebes, Vibes, how do you pronounce it? And he was basically trying to destroy them with inventions. I can get into it. And that brings us to our most recent series, Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated. Again, going back to the original roots, updating it, kind of like What's New Scooby Doo, but there was one difference. There was a main storyline. There was like an arc running through it all, relating to, I don't know, one bad guy and stuff. I don't know. The only episode I ever saw of it was one where they were in a bayou, and there were these crocodile enemies with human faces. The people under the human faces were the human faces of the mask. It wasn't hard to work out who the enemies were. There were 3 of them, and 4 characters were introduced, and all 3 of them looked like the alligator creatures. What do you think we are? You think we're that stupid? So yeah, that was a really, really brief look at the history of Scooby Doo. This one was rushed, I will admit, so I'm sorry if you don't actually learn anything. I could do another villain montage, but I won't. Because I wanted, when I started doing research, I thought there wouldn't be much. I thought I would have to look more at What's New Scooby Doo and Scooby Doo Where Are You? Because those are the series that are good. I mean, if they made more TV shows like this, they would be amazing. They make you think. They're like, ooh, could it be him? Oh, could it be him? But that clue says it's him. But that clue says it's him. Sorry. See, that's, But then they had like a pup named Scooby Doo, and it wasn't bad. The Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo show, where it was real monsters and only short segments. Sorry, I'm ranting now. I'm gonna stop. This is kind of almost my nerd rage from my childhood. I'm gonna stop. So yeah, history of Scooby Doo. Bye bye. I can't do it. Scooby Doo. That was terrible.